Good evening, good morning, good night, whatever the case may be. It's time for World History with your host with the most, with your teacher with the most knowledge. It's, of course, Coach Hughes. I once upon a time coached softball a long time ago, but that's not here or now. So let's dive back into our discussion on Christianity, one of the top three religions currently in the world. And when we talk about religion, again, we have to put our historical lenses on. I'm not trying to convert you to any one particular religion, nor am I trying to sway you away from another religion. You get a lot of those questions as a teacher. Why are you trying to convert my kid to this religion? I'm not. We're just merely looking at this Christianity through historical lens, as we have every other religion that we have discussed. Because, quite frankly, religion plays a important role in the way that our history, developed. And we have been talking about Christianity. Christianity, of course, got its origins and development uh, during the Roman Empire, which was pretty big deal because at that point in history, Rome was by far the largest empire to ever kind of control a large area of land to that degree, all the way from being a republic and going through the Punic Wars and then turning into really the Roman Empire, so away from the republic. One thing that you kind of need to know as background information before we move on to our second lecture on Christianity was that the Romans they kind of didn't care what you worship. You could literally worship a rock as long as you were not viewed as a threat, as long as you're worshiping and your religion did not threaten the ways of the republic or the empire. They didn't really care. You hear that a lot of Christians were persecuted during the time of the Roman Empire because the message of love and forgiveness, the teachings of Christ, the parables that he went out and spread, and his disciples and apostles after him. This was kind of giving people a power that they didn't have before, a freedom, if you would. And the Rome government definitely viewed that as a threat to their overall the way they govern. So we're going to dive into our talk and discussion on Christianity here, section 2, and we're going to talk about as it spread throughout the Roman Empire and beyond. So, a growing faith. Christianity, like I said, spread very quickly through the Roman Empire. It was a new phase, a new fad at that particular time. You had the likes of Christ and his parables. You had his apostles after the resurrection of Christ that we mentioned in section 1. And this idea became very popular. You have to remember, in the Roman society, you had two classes of citizens. There was not three. You had really the rich and poor, the patricians, the elite, the nobles, and the plebeians, the poor. And population wise, there were a lot more plebeians, poor people, than they were elite people. So Christianity became popular for several reasons. It appealed to the lower classes because it offered them hope, hope of changing their destiny, changing their stars. The ideas of Christianity were similar to what people already believed in, so it wasn't that hard of a sell to try to get people to change their beliefs. People normally don't like change, but if it's just a small smidgen of a change, well, you have a better chance at creating change. Also, Christianity gave people an opportunity to be part of a caring group of people. And as much as we and some try to be loners and go out and do things on their own, it is heartwarming, to say the least, when you have a network of close family members or friends that develop into a very caring and loving relationship. It's a bond. It builds strength in oneself. Now, Roman officials began to feel threatened. That's what I was mentioning just a few minutes ago. They started to feel threatened or even scared by Christians. The Romans began to persecute or mistreat Christians around 64 AD. And this was after the resurrection of Christ. This was after the time of Christ. But it is because of the resurrection that Christianity spreads kind of like wildfires. Martyrs are people willing to die rather than give up their beliefs. Um, there's a story. Almost don't want to mention it, but there's a story of when I was just barely out of high school. There was kind of a start of school shootings, unfortunately, with Columbine out there in Colorado. And always kind of think when I think of a martyr, people willing to die rather than give up their beliefs. There's this book, She Said Yes, and I hope I'm not getting it out of context here. But there were two shooters that kind of started these school shootings in 1999. Has it been that long? I think that's the correct date. Forgive me if I'm wrong. But there was two young individuals. They go into the school there at Columbine, and they put chains around. I think it was the library or lunchroom, and they go around and they find one of the girls there, who I think is well known for being a Christian, marred in the Christian beliefs, and very vocal about how she believes and how she lives. And these two terrible individuals, they're making light of it, making fun of her, and they basically put that gun to her head and said to something to the degree of "Where's your God now?" And then point blank asked her, "Do you believe in God?" And she probably realized that no matter what she's going to say, she's probably going to die. And without hesitation, she said, "Yes, I believe in God." When asked, "Do you believe in God?" And the gunman, unfortunately, still pulled that trigger, and she ended up dying. And I believe the name of the book is "She Said Yes," and I hope I didn't get the contents skewed or miswoven there, but that she could be classified as a martyr, someone rather dying, giving up. Um, their life for their beliefs there. So martyrs, again, people willing to die rather than give up his or her beliefs there. Now, circle E, put a star by it. Here's kind of the timeline we're looking at. At the beginning of the Roman Empire, you had, the founders there, Romulus and Remus, the twin brothers, Aeneas, depending on what you want to look at through historical lens and what you want to believe in. And, a lot of Romans at the start, they kind of take a Greek mythology kind of, they change names, Jupiter being Zeus and so forth. But you're going to go from that to the development of this new religion of Christianity, to where the Romans are persecuting, crucifying, their method of execution there, and killing Christians, to in 313, the Edict of Milan gave religious freedom to all people and actually makes Christianity legal. It's a very important document in Roman history. So the Edict of Milan, 313, gave religious freedom to all people and made Christianity legal. So whatever your belief system is, it's official now. You can believe what you want to believe in, and you cannot persecute or mistreat Christians anymore because Christianity is now legal in the Roman Empire. So 64 AD, we're killing Christians, we're mistreating them, we're crucifying them, and then a couple of hundred years later in 313, Christianity has spread so much and so far in the Roman Empire and beyond that it's legal now. And it does get even further. Helena, Constantine's mother, helped build churches in Rome and Jerusalem. You might remember Constantine from our last couple of lectures there on the Roman Empire. He starts the Eastern Roman Empire there and creates the capital at Byzantine, which later becomes known as Constantinople, which today is Istanbul, there in the country of Turkey. Theodosius, the emperor after Constantine, made Christianity the official religion in Rome in 392. 392. So less than 100 years, we go, okay, Christianity is now legal in the Roman Empire. In less than 100 years, it's gone from, okay, we'll make it legal to the official religion of the Roman Empire. It's kind of like the official sponsor of the NFL is Pizza Hut. It used to be Papa John's. I think it's Pizza Hut now. But side note, anyway. But that's pretty impressive, and that tells you how quickly Christianity was actually spreading to go from mistreating Christians in the Roman Empire, persecuting them in 64 AD to 313, the Edict of Milan will make it legal, to Theodosius giving it the official religion of the Roman Empire is now Christianity. Now, early Christians, they modeled their church after the Roman Empire. Not a bad model to kind of start with, especially when it comes to their government structure, because that's what people do. If you see something that is successful, and obviously the Roman Empire at that time period was pretty darn successful, you want to model that after that program or that government structure. It's kind of like in today's realm, who's the best football team? Well, right now, the University of Alabama and Coach Nick Saban there, they've won, Saban's won 5 national championships with Alabama, 1 with LSU, 6 total. I mean, there's really no other person that can say that except for Bear Bryant. So when you're looking for a college football coach, a lot of these schools go and they kind of poach from his coaching staff, and you can kind of see that with Georgia and other people that have hired assistants from Nick Saban. So you go with what works, and at that time, if you're going to make an early Christian church, you're going to model it after what's working, and that was the Roman Empire. Circle B, put a star by it. A hierarchy is an organization with different levels of authority, kind of like a pyramid structure there. The Christian community's hierarchy included 5, get them $5 foot long. I'm sorry, that's old Subway commercial there. But 5 levels of this hierarchy in the Christian church: laity, clergy, bishops, archbishops, and the patriarchs there. Now, church members, and we'll kind of go through these 5. Church members were the laity. So if you're a member of a church in that time period, you were known as the laity. Church leaders were called the clergy. Later, clergy were even called and named priest. Now, here's where it gets a little complicated, so bear with me. Several churches grouped together form a diocese, which was led by a bishop. So when you have several churches, you group them together, and all those churches are overseen by a bishop. Now, an archbishop was a bishop in charge of an entire region. So let's go slow. So when you have several churches grouped together, that's a diocese. So let's say Madison County. If you live in a Madison County or a Jackson County, those churches within that county, they form a diocese, and a bishop is over all those churches in that area or that county, as we use as an example. Now, an archbishop was a bishop in charge of an entire region. So when I think of region, I was talking about Nick Saban in Alabama just a minute ago, Southeast or the Southeastern Conference. You might even say the archbishop was over all of the Southeastern Conference or the Southeast region there. And the 5 leading archbishops were known as the patriarchs. So how do you determine that? Top 5 regions. It could be the largest regions or the more populated regions. Not real sure about that. All right, so the doctrine, if you ever heard the term doctrine is the official church teaching there. So you might have a lot of different rules, laws that you need to obey and follow. Circle F. Jesus' followers, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, left a written record of Christ's teachings. If you've heard Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, it's also chapters in the New Testament of the Christian Bible. And that's what I'm getting at. Each of the apostles' work is called a gospel, which means good news. Good news. And it's telling about the life and teachings of Christ there. And all 4 gospels together are part, like I said, of the New Testament of the Bible. And I'm often asked, what is the difference between the Old Testament and the New Testament? Well, the New Testament is simply the life and teachings of Christ. Anything before Christ would fall into that category of the Old Testament, the beginnings. Now, the Pope was the Bishop of Rome, and gradually, for some reason, the Pope claimed power over all the other bishops, kind of in a slow, tedious process. The Latin-speaking churches in the West that were led by the Pope officially became known as the Roman Catholic Church. So, over time, the Pope, also known as the Bishop of Rome, kind of just gradually took power over all the other bishops until he was the man when it comes to the Catholic Church. All right, so that will conclude our second lecture on Christianity. So we talked about a little bit of everything. We talked about the New Testament there, here at the end. We talked about the Pope. We talked about the teachings, a little bit about the teachings of Christ, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, the New Testament. We talked about the hierarchy of the church and really the church structure. But most importantly, we talked about this gradual startup of Christianity. They're being martyred, people willing to die for their religion because the Romans were executing them and crucifying them in 64 AD to the Edict of Milan in 313, making it illegal to worship Christianity in the Roman Empire. And then not even 100 years later, you had Theodosius making Christianity the official sponsor. Official sponsor of the Roman Empire. Actually, the official religion of the Roman Empire. Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that will do it for this lecture on Christianity. We've got one more lecture to kind of wrap up the topic of Christianity, and then we'll move on to probably another religion here in this time period. Until next time, God bless and roll tide.